Hello, hello, this is Chaff Commander Coffee back with another episode of 0 AD Empire's Ascendant in my tutorial and overview series. Today we are taking a look at the Mauryans, which are the Indian culture civilization. So let's just jump straight into it. Let's do our usual thing. Let's build a few buildings so that we can advance to the next stage. Let's get a farmstead over there and a house. Get these workers to come over here, build a storehouse and a barracks and a couple of defense towers. Right, that should do. We'll get a few spin as well. Why not? And we'll get our very helpful elephant to come help build these. This was the team I played in my demonstration game for 0 AD, by pure fluke, since I was playing random at the time. But let's not worry about that. Let's go straight into the civilization bonuses for the Mauryans. So the first bonus is that the Mauryans have a 10% population cap bonus. This is the same kind of bonus that you get with Wonders, which I went over in my Athenians overview. So, in this particular game, we have a population cap of 250. As the Mauryans, that has increased to 275, as you can see in the top left there. So, in a 300 pop game, we would have 330 people. In a 100 pop game, we would have 110. So this is a pretty strong ability, as you can imagine, as it allows us to field more units than our opponent. It's pretty good. The second civilization bonus for the Mauryans is the warrior caste ability, which means the Mauryans gain access to 4 champion units instead of the usual 2. So we get 4 different kinds of champions, which is pretty damn good. Once I've aged up, I will just put the speed up so we can get that down faster. So yeah, we get 2 extra champion units in our roster, and I will go over those when we get to talking about our roster of units to build the elephant stables over there. And let's get these towers upgraded so we can go to phase 3. Right, the team bonus for the Mauryans is all allied temple technologies cost 50% less and research 50% faster. So in a team game, especially with teammates who build quite a lot of temples, such as the Carthaginians or any of the Celtic teams, this is a pretty damn good ability. The 50% reduced cost is particularly significant because a lot of the temple upgrades I will show you here. We've got healing range, healing rate, divine offerings, and battlefield medicine. As you can see, they all cost metal, so reducing the cost of that is pretty good by itself. But they also all cost quite a lot of food as well. So you can save yourself a fair amount of food for your allies and metal with this team bonus. The 2 unique technologies for the Mauryans, the first one is it's just like the Carthaginian and the Iberian ability for the livestock pens. It's not currently implemented, which is a shame, but I will read it out anyway. You might be able to guess what it will be. But basically, you can garrison or you capture and garrison up to 5 wild elephants inside the elephant stables, which is this building that I'm building right now. So it's not in the corral, it's actually in your elephant stables. But it unlocks a elephant breeding bonus, which reduces the cost and train time by 5% for elephant units for each garrisoned elephant up to a total of 25%. So you can reduce the cost of any of these elephant units by 25% if you capture 5 wild elephants, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice ability. And then the second unique technology is archery tradition. You gain greater range and faster train time for the bamboo longbow, which is the citizen archer unit for the Mauryans. The upgrade is right here, archery tradition. You get a bonus 10 meters for bow wielding units and 20% less train time but it also reduces the health of your archers by 20%. So there is a bit of a trade-off with it, but it is quite a powerful ability all the same. So those are the unique technologies and civilization bonuses for playing the Mauryans. Let us go over their unit roster. So I'll just pull a unit over here. We have our bamboo spearmen, which I believe they might be slightly different to standard spearmen. I think the Mauryans might have slightly weaker spearmen than other nations. I can't remember off the top of my head. They may do, based on just the damage values there. I think those damage values might be slightly lower than standard spearmen, but I can't remember. You'll have to correct me on that, or just keep that in mind when you play another team and take a look at their stats. So, from our town centre, we have our... over here, you silly cavalryman. Right. We have our bamboo spearmen. What are you doing? Stop trying to hunt. Just stand there. Wow, this cavalryman really... Right, you're going to get deleted. Sorry, cavalryman. You should do what I tell you to do. Right. From the town centre, you get access to your basic units. You got your women villagers, your bamboo spearmen, which are your citizen soldier spearmen, your longbowmen, which are your citizen soldier archers, and your Indian light cavalry, which are your citizen cavalry javeliniers. From your barracks in Phase 2, you gain... I can't remember if it's in Phase 2 or if you get access to the Indian swordsmen in Phase 1 as well. But you do get access to the Indian swordsmen, which are close quarter sword units, and the Indian raiding cavalry, which are sword-based cavalry units. So you get access to both these units, and I'll just train them and bring them over here so you can take a look at them. The other unit, the other special unit, which does come under the elephant stables as well, but you do get access to it from the... these cavalrymen really want to go hunt that lion over there. Well, I mean, if you die to the lion, that's not my problem. Alright. Anyway, so you get access to the worker elephant. Now, the worker elephant, which is this elephant over here, this is a mobile drop site for your resources. You can store wood, metal, stone, and food in this elephant, which is really handy because these can move outside of your borders of control. So you don't need to build storehouses, or you don't even need to build more civic centres. You can just build more worker elephants. They can be killed, obviously, and they're not the strongest unit in the game, so don't treat them as just like a complete alternative to your storehouse and your farmstead, because you will need to build at least... let me just get these men in. You will need to build at least one farmstead and one storehouse to be able to research your economic technologies. You can't do that at the worker elephant. But they are used as a mobile drop site, and the other advantage of them is, if I put a house down, the worker elephant can build buildings for you, and he builds them pretty quickly. As you can see, he's building this house at an astonishing pace. I can't remember how many workers they actually count for. I think it might be like at least 2 or 3. So if I was to get this spearman to build the house, you'll see how fast he builds it. Yeah, so I think the worker elephant counts for like 2 or 3 builders, which is pretty good, because what you can do is, if you have a bunch of men cutting wood, say over here, and you have a worker elephant standing there, rather than taking your villagers off of wood to build a house, you can set a house down to build. You will need to select one of your workers to do this, but then the elephant can build the house, whilst all of your men are gathering wood. So as you can see, they're still using this as a drop site, even though it is currently building. So this is one of the major advantages of the Mauryans, is that their elephants are incredibly versatile for your early economy and even your late game economy. By effectively, they're not too expensive. They're only 150 food. So because they only cost food, it will save you quite a fair bit of wood building storehouses and farmsteads, which you can then use to train more units. So the worker elephant is really a phenomenal unit. I think it is one of the strongest economic bonuses in the game to a civilization. For particularly advanced players, it means that you can get your economy up and running, and you can end up with a surprising number of extra resources compared to other civilizations, because you can have all of your people working at all times. They never need to stop working to build a building, because the worker elephants can just do that for you. And you also save a lot of resources building those storehouses and farmsteads in place of training the elephants. And the elephants, as an added bonus with that, they do count as extra builders. So that is actually pretty good. We will need a fortress, so we'll go build that over there. Do we need any other buildings? Current count limit 0. Ah, that might be based on how many teammates we have. Right, I'll have to come back to that because I'm not sure I can build that in this particular game. Anyway, so we'll let them build that fortress up. So here we have our basic lineup of citizen soldiers. We've got javelin cavalry, spearmen, swordsmen, longbowmen, and sword cavalry. Yeah, so that's our basic lineup of units. And with the archery tradition upgrade, you can really get a vast number of longbowmen fairly quickly, and they are higher. They do have higher range, which makes them particularly powerful archers. So the Mauryans really do have very good archers. And at the blacksmith, we can see, as I commented in my Iberian overview video, they get access to the Woot Steel upgrade, which gives 20% hack attack for all your sword units, which includes your citizen swordsmen, your sword cavalry, and also your champion soldiers there. Your champion soldiers are both sword-wielding units. So, the other champions we get access to, which you'll see once we get this fortress complete, I believe we also get a chariot and then the elephant here, the Indian elephant. I will train one of those, and I'll train one of these ones as well. So the elephant stables, which is one of these unique buildings for the Mauryans, this allows you to train the majority of your elephant units. You get the champion Indian war elephant. This is your only siege unit. You get no siege weapons from your fortress. So you do have to rely on the war elephants here to do all of your building damage, but they do have as much crush damage as a battering ram, as I showcased in, I think in one of my other videos I may have shown that off. In the Carthaginian video? Yeah, in my Carthage video I showed you the war elephant stats, so that should come as no surprise. But as our second unit we can get from the elephant stables, we get the elephant archer. These are special sort of cavalry archer units. These aren't the same as horse archers. They are much tougher, and they have a range. I will go over their stats quickly because we haven't seen the elephant archer before. They have a pierce of 10.5 at a range of 72 meters, and they fire every 0.75 seconds. They have an armor of 4 hack and 3 pierce. So, aside from a standard horse archer, their real advantage is they are slower than a standard horse archer, but they do have a lot more hit points, giving them a lot more staying power, but they are a fair bit more expensive because of that. They even cost some metal, but they are pretty powerful. They're pretty tough. So, yeah, you can sort of bolster up your, if you don't feel that the Indian archers, if you need more strength on your archers in particular, so they don't get outranged by your opponent or get flanked, if you're not so worried about flanking, then the elephant archers are a pretty good alternative. What I will quickly do is just show you, so if you want to pause the video there, you can. Those are the stats for the longbowman. When we grab the upgrade, the archery tradition upgrade, which will take a little bit of time, I will speed that up whilst I'm also training our... Oh, I'm going to need some more wood for that. Let's see, buy some wood. Chariot, there we go. Alright, so I will quickly train the champion units we have access to as well, so you can take a look-see at those. But yeah, once the archery tradition upgrade is complete, you can compare the stats of... Oh, there's another tiger. There we go. Right, we got rid of that. Okay, sorry. There's just tigers everywhere on this map. Hostile wildlife being how it is. Anyway, so yeah, I will just quickly take a look at the archer now that we've... so their health has reduced from 66 to 53, so you lose 13 hit points on your archers. But their range increases to 82. So they are pretty much the longest range unit in the game, aside from Persian archers and actual siege weapons like the ballista thrower, the bolt thrower. So yeah, they are very long range archers, but they are particularly weak in terms of both melee and survivability, so you do need to be careful with them. The 3 champion units that the Mauryans get access to, aside from the War Elephant, is the... Okay, so you get 2 different kinds of champion swordsmen. You get the Yodha and the Maiden Guard. I believe they both count as swordsmen. Yeah, they do. So the... I don't believe there's any... Oh, okay, there is a difference. Okay. The Maiden Guard are sword-wielding women warriors. They have 7 hack armor and 7 pierce armor. These are basically your champion swordsmen for the Mauryans. Now, the Yodha is a special sort of champion unit. They do count as swordsmen, as you can see here. They count as champion swordsmen, so they should gain the upgrade of the Woot Steel. However, they have crush damage. They do have lower armor than the Maiden Guard, but they do crush damage. So this makes them particularly effective against buildings. So you have sort of a champion melee building destroying unit. Kind of like the Iberians' Javelin Champion Cavalry, but because they're infantry, they are obviously going to be... I mean, they're fairly quick. But they are going to not be quite as maneuverable, and obviously they are melee, not ranged. So they do have to get in melee with the building, but they are an alternative siege unit for the Mauryans. We then have the Wrath, the War Chariot. This has a ranged attack of 14 pierce damage with a... 14 pierce with a range of 86 with an attack rate of 1 second. They have 7 hack armor and 5 pierce armor, putting them on par with the Briton chariots. I think they're about the same as the Briton chariots. So yeah, you get a champion chariot unit, which are pretty fast, as you can see there. Not bad at all. Yeah, so you have champion range units, champion swordsman, and champion maceman. I suppose you could call them macemen. They do count as sword units. What I will do, just to be on the safe side, is I will upgrade, I will grab steelworking, and see if that boosts their damage. Because this is very important, since the Mauryans do get access to a special swordsman upgrade. It would be nice to see whether the crush damage on this particular unit is boosted by that technology. Okay, I will, after this technology is finished, I just want to be 100% sure, I will go over the heroes. And then we will talk about the Mauryans' special buildings. So some of you might already be getting an idea of why I think the Mauryans are so powerful as a team. They get a pretty solid roster, including a bunch of unique upgrades. Okay, so the damage on the swordsman, on the mace warrior, is not increased. So for the devs there, I guess you could call this a bit of a UI bug. You might want to change where it says that the Yodha is a sword combatant, and maybe change their tag to Maceman, because they don't actually benefit from the sword upgrade. Whereas the Maiden Warrior, as you can see, has gone to 13.2 hack damage, so she has benefited from it. So yeah, just a little piece of bug feedback there for you. Right, here we have our 3 heroes for the Mauryans. We have, I'm gonna butcher this name pretty badly. Is it Akaya? Chanakaya? So we have our first hero. Sorry about that, if I've completely butchered the Indian for that particular hero. His first ability is Teacher. he can empower a building with 20% less cost and 50% less research time while he is garrisoned inside of it. This is, you might think, oh, it's a bit niche. Oh, I should also point out that this is probably one of the only heroes in the game that counts as a healer. This particular healer, or this particular hero, is a healer, just like the healers you will train from your temple. So, yeah, you have a healer hero. His second ability is regeneration, which he gives a 0.8 hit point per second healing rate within 35 meters of him. So he has a very similar ability to Cunobelin, one of the Briton heroes. I think he was one of the Briton heroes. Yeah, he should be. But his teacher ability is, that's pretty unique to this hero. You might be thinking, well, when does that come in handy? Because eventually I will have all the technologies. Well, in a particularly long game, you will research all the technologies, and then he becomes a bit useless. Well, you can always delete him then and replace him with one of the other two heroes. But I will point out, the blacksmith has a garrison limit of 1. So, you can garrison this particular support hero in your blacksmith, and he will reduce the cost of all your blacksmith technologies by 20%, and your research time of all your blacksmith technologies by 50%, which is, as you can probably imagine, pretty damn powerful. He lends, to be honest, with the Mauryans, I think in most games as the Mauryans, the first hero you would build is this guy. And once you have a technological advantage over your opponent, you would really focus on booming, securing valuable resources with your worker elephants and groups of soldiers. And then you would, once you've got a technological advantage using this hero, swap him out for one of the other two heroes. Really to just, give yourself every edge that you can. That's why I think the Mauryans are one of the best teams in the game. Again, a bit more of a higher skill cap to play them because of the range bonus on archers, but they reduce their health, so it's very positioning heavy. You only get war elephants as a siege weapon. Not that I think that's a bad thing, because war elephants are absolutely bonkers, so there you go. But, again, a bit more of a complex playstyle, since you have to swap your heroes out. But I genuinely think this is a very, very strong hero. The second hero we have is Chandragupta Maurya, who is a elephant hero. He has no abilities, however, I will train him because I believe Chandragupta has the strongest hero unit. He is the strongest hero unit in the game, I think. He's basically a really buff war elephant. I think he has like 1,500 hit points or something crazy like that, and does like twice the damage of a normal elephant. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I will recruit him just to be on the safe side. So we have Chandragupta, who's a really, really strong war elephant. And then we have Ashoka the Great. His special ability is Buddhism. Temples and temple technologies cost 50% less in resources and time. So he effectively gives you your team bonus to you. So all your temple things are cheaper. So you could train Ashoka, or you could train Ashoka first, research all your technologies, delete Ashoka, train Acharya Chanakya, put him inside your blacksmith, train research all your blacksmith technologies, and then finish it off by getting the mighty Chandragupta. Yeah, he has 2,000 hit points, and he has 20 hack damage, 50 crush damage every 1 second, 10 armor, 10 hack armor, and 10 pierce armor. So if we compare that to a standard war elephant, he has a lot less damage than standard. He has a lot less damage than standard elephants. That's because he trains another unit, which I will now quickly train for you. I totally forgot that Chandragupta had that ability. Right, so yeah. So generally speaking, you would go Ashoka, get your temple upgrades. I'm just going to call him Chanakya. Chanakya, get all your blacksmith upgrades, and finish that off by getting Chandragupta. And Chandragupta can train Maiden Guard archers, as well as being incredibly hard to kill. And the Maiden Guard Archers, these probably do have different stats. I imagine they were upgraded by the Archery Traditions bonus. So they should be 20% faster to train. They are. As you can see, they take 24 seconds as opposed to 30 seconds. They have 20% less hit points, which I'm not going to do the maths to figure out that. They do get 10 more meters range. So their stats are 6.5 pierce damage, 86 range at a rate of 0.5 seconds. So just like your standard archers, they have very similar damage, very similar range, but they fire twice as quickly. They also have a higher capture rate, just like other champions, and higher armor with 5 hack armor and 5 pierce armor. So they're effectively the Athenians' Scythian archers that you can train, but you can train them from a hero. So you have a moving barracks, and you can train them whilst moving. As you can see, I'm moving Chandragupta around, and we're still training the Maiden Archers. So you can really bolster your offensive capabilities as the Mauryans by utilising Chandragupta's ability to train archers, which is pretty good. Pretty damn good. So, that is the full Mauryan roster. Scary, isn't it? Yeah, it really should be scary, because these guys are nuts. Like, that's why I think the Mauryans are so powerful. Anyway, let's talk about their unique buildings, and I will have to, now that I've remembered, delete Chandragupta and then get Ashoka, because he has a unique building associated with him. So we will need to buy a little bit more wood and just train Ashoka. That shouldn't take too long, I am on 2x speed. But let's go over their buildings. So the first building we need to talk about is the Elephant Stables, which obviously we went over. It's where you train your elephant units. I don't think there's a limit on the amount you can build. No, there is no limit to the amount you can build, and it is where you garrison your elephant units. You can't garrison your elephant units anywhere else, not even the temple. So you have to garrison them inside the elephant stables if you want to heal them in that way. It doesn't heal them very quickly, and elephants have a lot of hit points. So which is why it's generally a good idea with the Mauryans to be able to field some of these healers, if for nothing else but your elephants. Right, so we have Ashoka here. Ashoka is one of our chariot riding heroes, which is pretty cool. But the main reason we need Ashoka is because of his special ability here, the Edicts of Ashoka. You can build Edict Pillars whilst you have Ashoka in the field. The Edict Pillars are here. The Edict Pillar of Ashoka gives a 20% movement speed for traders within 75 meters of the pillar. Buildings in the territory of the monument do not decay, which includes the monument itself. So, the main power of the Edict Pillars of Ashoka is you build one, and then you build another on the way to your allies' base. I will quickly just trade some stone, just so I can show that off. So, for example, if we built one near our base, preferably within range of our market, which I may not have done, but either way, and then you would build another one, say, further down here. You basically mark your trade route with the Pillars of Ashoka. This means your traders move 20% faster along that entire trade route. This helps because the faster your traders are moving, so that's sort of the radius of it. So what you'd want to do is count sort of like that distance out. You don't need to be perfect, and then just go again and then build another pillar sort of central to that. Build another pillar, say, over here or whatever. And you basically create a line with your 5 pillars of Ashoka that you have access to. Yeah, it is 5. You can only build 5. And you build a line of these 5 pillars towards your allies. It's more of a team game thing. But you build them towards your allies, so your allies' traders will get to you faster, and your traders will get to them faster, thus increasing your overall trade profits. So once again, sort of showcasing how the Mauryans play to really, they are strongest in the late game. And when I mean in the late game, they get, well, we'll discuss their strategies. So really, there is only one real strategy, as far as I can see, with the Mauryans, and that is the boom. The Mauryans are all about the boom. You have to boom your economy big, and you do it fast. The reduced trading time on your archers has a twofold effect. Not only can you get more archers in the field for combat, but you can also get more archers out faster to help get your economy running, which is pretty handy, especially if you're booming. So yeah, you can use your archers as the bulk of your economy. What I would normally suggest is you have your spearmen cut wood to help against raiding, and have your archers mine. And the reason for this is your archers are so long range that even if they're mining back at the town centre, they can support your infantry out in the wood line. I'm not joking. They really do have, like, an archer here with the upgrade could fire over here. So yeah, they really do have pretty significant range. So you want your archers generally to be mining, and you want your spearmen and your swordsmen to be wandering around cutting wood. To go with the idea of booming, your elephants are pretty expensive, so you're going to need a lot of resources to sort of upkeep all those elephants. But because your trade pillars will increase the amount of resources you gain from trading longer distances by increasing the speed of your traders, you can really make up the difference from your trade value. Another thing is, let's think, because you have one hero that's really sort of your combat hero, which is Chandragupta, because he can train units on the move. That gives you a lot of pressure when you finally commit to attack your opponent. Now, war elephants are probably one of these slower. I am on 2 times speed. These are probably one of the slowest siege units in the game. Not that siege units are quick, but a lot of nations have a hero that will boost the movement speed of units in their radius, such as siege weapons. So the war elephants are not very fast, and they are particularly weak to ranged attacks compared to other siege weapons. So the Mauryans really do have a very slow advance when they do decide to attack you. However, coupled with their strong economy, the increased maximum population limit they get so they can field more units, and the speed in which they research and the cost of that research they get from swapping their heroes out. So you go Ashoka, you get all your temple upgrades, which helps you play defensively because it's the heal rate for your units, and you can also increase your trade value as soon as possible. You then get rid of Ashoka and you get Chanakya, and Chanakya will help heal your units further and also help you research all of your blacksmith technologies. You then swap out Chanakya for Chandragupta, and once you've finally done that and Chandragupta hits the field, you go on the offensive, and you don't stop. You shouldn't need to, because you should have all of your upgrades from the blacksmith and all of your upgrades from the temple before your opponent, which means your units will be at their absolute maximum efficiency before your opponent has maybe half the upgrades, or they will have a decent number of upgrades, don't get me wrong, but they won't have as many as you if you do it correctly. So you should be able to really pressure your opponent as soon as Chandragupta hits the field. But yeah, that's really the sort of only real strategy or overarching strategy surrounding the Mauryans is a really heavy boom strategy, because you can't really raid. We'll talk about the weaknesses of the roster now. Your archer elephants are kind of slow. You can't use these as raiding units, not like horse archers. So the only real mobile cavalry unit you have is... where did he go? Let's see, he's not there. Oh, I don't know where he's gone. But the only real fast unit you have is the Indian light cavalry. You also have the Indian raiding cavalry, but they're sword cavalry. So you don't have access to the strongest raiding cavalry in the game, which are the lancers. To couple with that, you have stronger swordsmen. Swordsmen are good at open field engagements where they can really, go man to man with other melee units, which they will outclass. Your archers are particularly long range. Now, this doesn't make them bad for raiding. However, they do have lower hit points if you upgrade them with that particular upgrade. And I highly suggest you do, because there's really no reason not to. But because of their lower hit points, they are very susceptible to being countered by cavalry if your opponent sallies forth and tries to retaliate against your raid with cavalry. Your archers will die very quickly, and that's a bit of a waste. You're not really gaining anything like you would by raiding with other units. So the Mauryans don't really have any really very offensive capabilities. They really rely on that slow technological advancement and that real solid, stable economy. And once they have that, they will roll over you, and they really will. This probably is the strongest team for getting to the late game. Oh, there's the cavalry. They probably really are one of the strongest teams for getting to the late game and getting all of those late game researchers, because you can get will to fight cheaper if you garrison Chanakya inside the fortress after he's done your blacksmith upgrades. You can get those done cheaper. Technically, you can't have Ashoka and Chanakya, so I would highly recommend just having Ashoka for the temple upgrades. But you can get your barracks upgrades cheaper. You can get your because you can garrison units inside the barracks. You can get espionage cheaper with Chanakya. You can get all those upgrades for cheap and faster. So yeah, you really should be focusing on your technologies, and once you've finished them, then go for the attack. So they are very, very, very heavy on their boom, on their late game. Which does, as I said, I think it makes them one of the strongest teams in the game, because they have such a versatile economy with these worker elephants. If you're very good at the game and you have that sort of advanced micro aspect, you can get your buildings built with the elephants. You can have your men working outside your borders, and you can still deliver resources. So you can gain map control without expanding. You can have a very defensible base location. You get all your technologies up faster. It's just incredible. Like, that's why I think the Mauryans are so powerful as a team. War elephants are more than enough as far as siege units are concerned. You don't have any ranged siege units, but you do have access to, for example, if you're attacking someone and you have war elephants, they will generally focus your war elephants with their range units, and they will generally put a lot of emphasis in killing the war elephants so you can't knock their buildings down. If you have a small group of these Yodha, the mace-wielding warriors, they can flank around your opponent and start knocking their buildings down without really receiving any attention. They can go, like, if you had a large group of units, so you have all these sort of spearmen and swordsmen and archers, you might not notice the macemen mingled in with them. And the macemen, once they get passed into your base, are going to tear buildings down pretty quickly. If you consider they have an attack rate of 0.75 and a crush of 10, House has 800 hit points and only 27% crush resistance. So they deal about 7 damage a hit. So about 10 of these macemen will knock a house down in about 10 seconds. Or just a little bit over 10 seconds, like 15 seconds. That's not a long time. You get a group of 20 of these guys and they can tear down buildings in absolutely record time. The war elephants are just there to, like, look scary. You should worry about these guys. These guys are quick. Like, for infantry, they're pretty damn quick. They're not naked fanatics, but they're pretty quick. So you can really sneak them in, like, whilst you're engaging on the front lines, and then just knock some key infrastructure down. As far as the other Mauryan units go, your Maiden Guard, damn good swordsmen. Very few nations will be able to match your swordsmen, except maybe the Iberians, because of the Wood Steel upgrade. And your archers being longer range, and you get champion archers, well, there you go. You have such diversity with your champions, and obviously champions are a phase 3 metal-intensive late-game unit. Because you have such diversity in your champions, it does sort of reinforce the idea that you should be playing for the late game with the Mauryans. So yeah, that is my general overview and opinion of the Mauryans. Right, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it's given you a little bit more of an insight into how the Mauryans play. Again, they are a bit more of a complex team, and they are a lot slower than other teams that we've seen in the overview so far. But I really do think they are one of the contenders for most powerful team or civilization in 0 AD. So, just keep that in mind. When you play against a Mauryan player who knows what he's doing, you should be worried. But my best advice for fighting the Mauryans is, if they are going to be booming their economy by getting groups of workers to move around with these worker elephants, they will be far away from their base. And they can't build towers to defend these worker elephant sort of gathering spots. So the best thing to do against the Mauryans is scout regularly. If you scout often and find your opponent is expanding his resource gathering outside of his realm, you can strike him surgically with cavalry or other kinds of raiding units like naked fanatics and such, and really do some serious damage to his economy before it gets out of control. That's really what you have to do against the Mauryans. You have to constantly hit their economy before they hit critical mass. Because once they hit critical mass, it's very, very difficult to stop them. It really is. So, it's been me, Chaff Commander Coffee. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video in this series, where we will be looking over the Persians, one of my other teams that I very highly rate for the top spot of civilization of 0 AD. Alright, thanks for watching. Goodbye.